Awesome.
Good morning. Welcome to Collectiv Academy. We have a quick survey. If you could please take a moment to fill that out. It helps us get to know who is here with us today and what you are most excited to learn about. We will get started here in the next few minutes. And if you have already taken the survey and you're just waiting for a few minutes while we get started, I'm sending some links in the chat to our LinkedIn and our YouTube, where we post daily awesome updates, articles, blogs, videos on Power BI and the entire Power Platform. Good morning. Welcome to Collectiv Academy. Super excited to talk about Power BI licensing concepts today. We will get started here very soon. In the meantime, if you could please take this survey that I'm sending in the chat, helps us get to know what exactly you'd like to learn about today. Also, since we have a smaller group right now, definitely feel free to come off mute and ask questions at any time during the presentation.
All right, small crowd today, so we're going to go ahead and get started probably a little bit later than normal to wait to see who all actually files in. So we'll get started and we'll give it a few more minutes before we actually dive into the presentation.
Greg, what would your theme song be?
My theme song?
Yeah, that's the last question in the survey.
So what is the definition of a theme song?
I don't
Is that
know.
like your walk-up song, like if you're at a baseball game? Okay.
Yes.
I have one, but you'd probably laugh. So there's this song written by a local artist in my hometown. It's kind of like a country bluegrassy song, so it'd be that one.
Nice.
I'm guessing that's what it'd be. It's called Jackrabbit. Jackrabbit is the name of it.
Are you friends with the band?
I know him. I'm not like I would say I'm friends enough. We more or less just know each other. Don't actually go and hang out, but see him at local music things every once in a while. How about you? What's yours?
I honestly don't really know. It's a tough question.
Ryan and I were talking about this last week. basically said, for when you're joining teams meetings or when you're letting people in, if you had like your own little intro song, like walk up song, that'd be cool. That's what Teams is coming out with next.
Good morning for anyone that just joined. If you could please take this survey that I'm sending in the chat, we will get started here very soon. We're just waiting for a few more people to join in, but then we will leave it all to Greg to talk about Power BI licensing concepts.
Yeah, we're gonna wait 2 more minutes and then I'll get started. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started today, everybody. Extremely small group for today's event, so I want to make this as interactive as possible. I'm going to, after the quick introduction of Collectiv, basically I'm going to go into Power BI licensing, but what I'd really like to do is really just understand what questions you or anyone else that might want to know about Power BI licensing, how you're trying to utilize it inside your organization, or anything you might have a question on, regarding Power BI. Feel free to ask me those questions. We'll make the most use of our time here. But again, thanks for joining Collectiv Academy. My name is Greg. I'm a principal here at Collectiv. A little bit about Collectiv. We are a strategy and data analytics consulting firm based out of Chicago, Illinois. However, we are 100% virtual. We have consultants located all across the US and some in Canada as well. We focus specifically within the Microsoft stack, and we specialize within the Power Platform, which is Power BI, Power Apps, and Power Automate, as well as some of the other Azure services that usually accompany those types of projects. So anything that involves storing your data or transforming or moving your data. So things like Azure Data Lake storage, Azure SQL storage, Azure Synapse, Azure Data Factory, Azure Databricks, really anything that involves around anything that supports the Power BI, Power Apps, or Power Automate tools, we specialize in. And we also help organizations all the way from strategy to implementation to support. So if you're not really sure how to get started, we can help you put that strategy together, put that actual Power BI visioning in place. And then after that visioning, we usually move into an implementation approach to where we're actually implementing those types of reports that you may be wanting to deploy throughout your organization. And then we can also help with support as far as consulting is concerned. Just if you are on LinkedIn, I would appreciate if you would go ahead and connect with me. So if you haven't connected with me, please send me a connection. If you actually have LinkedIn on your phone, you can actually highlight the QR code that you're seeing here on the screen. So just looking forward to connecting with all of you if we haven't done so already. So that being said, I'd like to dive into Power BI licensing. And like I said today, if you have any questions, feel free to come off mute or just mention something in the chat. Want to make this very interactive because this is a small group, so therefore, feel free to ask any questions that you might have. We're going to be reviewing the following types of licensing. So Power BI Free, Power BI Pro, Power BI Premium. So the three types of premium SKUs we're going to be talking about are the P SKUs, the EM SKUs, and then the semi-new Power BI Premium per user, which just came out this year. Then we have Power BI Report Server, and last but not least, Power BI Embedded. So again, anytime you have any questions, please let me know and we'll go ahead and get those answered for you. So the first license concept that we're going to talk about is Power BI free. So a little bit just to kind of, quick disclosure about free. Nothing's ever really free. But I guess, if you wanted to use Power BI just for yourself, and let's say you had your own finances, or I've had a client who actually was a part of a beer club, and he actually monitored all the different types of beers that he's drank from different microbreweries. He actually used his own spreadsheet to create his own report, and he used Power BI free for that. As you can see on here, there's a few things you can and can't do with it. There's no direct query option for Power BI free. You can only do one refresh per day. You cannot share with Power BI free. You only have the My Workspace. One quick thing to mention about the free version, this is what's used for the Power BI Premium SKUs as a viewer license, but we'll get into what that actually means as we get into the actual premium SKUs here in a minute. But long story short, Power BI free is meant for you and you alone. It's more so for, if you're just doing your own ad hoc analysis, you're not sharing with anyone really irrelevant data throughout the organization. Now, like I said, the other use case for free is where we actually get into the Power BI Premium, which we'll dive into here in a few moments. So the most common Power BI Pro, most common Power BI license. Audrey, can you hear me? I'm seeing some chat coming in. Just want to make sure that you and Chloe can hear me.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, great. Thanks. So the most common Power BI license is the Power BI Pro. And this allows you to basically share and collaborate with all your end users inside of the Power BI service. It allows you to publish reports up to the Power BI service. Your maximum data set size is 1 gig. The maximum storage per user is 10 gig. You can only refresh your data set up to 8 times per day. That's one of the main differences between the Power BI Pro and the Power BI Premium. It is only $10 per month per user. That is an extremely effective cost point. It is included with Office 365 E5 licensing. So if you have E5, you don't need to do this $10 per month per user because you already have it. And I mean, that's basically the gist of it. All users, I think one of the other main points I always like to point out is anyone that wants to see or view your report. So if I create a report and I want to share it with Audrey and Chloe both need to have a Power BI Pro license. There's no way to get around that unless you kind of go into some of these other SKUs that we've talked about. But if they actually want to view that report, they do need a Pro license, which is that $10 per month per user. Any questions on the Power BI Pro licensing? All righty. Okay, so we're going to go into the Power BI Premium SKUs. So the Power BI Premium SKUs, this is basically what Premium pretty well boils down to is that it is dedicated capacity. So instead of pooling all of your storage into the cloud inside of Microsoft with everyone else's, this is your own dedicated instance. So it's your own storage that you're utilizing for the P SKUs. This is pretty well for large enterprise organizations, and pretty well a rule of thumb is we say if you don't have at least 500 users, you're probably not suitable for Power BI Premium. Now, there are use cases where you may want to have Power BI Premium. If you have less than 500 users, maybe you have extremely large data sets, you need that dedicated capacity. You want to take advantage of the storage limits where you can actually go up to 1 terabyte. Maybe your data set size needs to go above 1 gig with the Pro, so you need to utilize this 10 gigabyte licensing. You may also be interested in going into the data refresh over 8 times per day. So with Power BI Premium, you can actually refresh your data up to 48 times per day, and that's if you're using an import method with your reports. If it's direct query, that's always directly connected to your database. But if you're doing that refresh with that import method, you can do it 48 times per day. It also gives you some other features like AI and ML, cognitive services. You can actually produce paginated reports. Deployment pipelines are available, and then automatic page refresh is another another great feature that's available if you are using certain write-back tools as well. So we see that useful whenever we're doing budgeting and forecasting within a premium SKU. The other thing that you actually do get with Power BI Premium is report server, and we'll go into that here in a few moments as well. So I just want to do a quick scenario. So with Power BI Premium, you still need Power BI Pro. So even though you have a premium account, you still need Pro in order to publish. So I may purchase my premium SKU, P1 SKU, which is at a minimum of $5,000 per month. I still need to have a set of users to actually publish my reports to my workspaces. So for example, Audrey and Chloe may be viewers in my Power BI Premium account. However, I will have a Pro account so that I can actually author and then publish my reports up to the Power BI service. So another thing I mentioned earlier is you can use the free users just to view those Power BI reports inside of the Power BI workspaces with Power BI Premium. Same instance. So Audrey and Chloe and the rest of my organization can use the free SKU of Power BI, but you'll still need that Pro license in order to publish that up and maintain those workspaces inside of your Power BI service tenant. Hopefully that makes sense. If there's any questions, please let me know. Okay. So the other type of premium SKU I'm going to talk about today is the EM SKU. And the EM SKU has 3 SKUs. It's EM 1 through 3, and this is for organizational embedding. And what that basically means is that I can embed my Power BI reports within a Teams or a SharePoint site. All of the reports are still published up to the Power BI service, so they all still live in the Power BI service. However, your end users are going to consume those reports from within SharePoint or from within Microsoft Teams. Those end users within Teams or SharePoint do not need to have a Power BI license. They can just have a Power BI free license, so they don't need the Pro. However, whoever is publishing the reports or maintaining those reports inside of the Power BI service, they still will require that Pro license in order to publish and maintain those reports. So we see a lot of clients utilizing this, and again, it's all about what your company's deployment vision is. If you want everybody to maintain their access with their documents and where everything lives within inside of SharePoint or within inside of Teams, we see a lot of organizations moving down that path, especially with the recent many updates to Microsoft Teams that Microsoft has been coming out with. So that is the EM SKU. It's pretty straightforward. But if there are any questions, please let me know. The next premium offering that I'd like to talk about is Power BI Premium per user. And this is relatively new. This is actually $20 per month per user. In order to access the workspace that has been assigned to a premium per user, as a premium per user workspace, you do need to have a user license for that to happen. So the main thing to know about Power BI Premium per user is, in order to access content published in the premium per user workspace, you need a premium per user license, which is $20 per month. So if we want to look at some quick comparisons between the per capacity as the per user, here are the main differences. So basically, here's what you don't get with per user, and here's what you get with the per capacity. So at the end of the day, you're still getting all of the main features of a premium. So you still get the XMLA endpoint connectivity, you get the AI capabilities, the paginated reports, the refresh, the deployment pipelines. But some of the things you don't get are you don't get Power BI report on premises, which is report server. You don't have that that actual dedicated capacity on the per capacity limits. So there's a few differences there. But end of the day, you do get a lot of the same capabilities as what the premium capacity licensing is. Few things that, like I had already mentioned, is more focused on the sharing content. So who can see what? So this table really pretty well breaks down what your end users can see and what they cannot see. So again, if you have a pro, can you see the premium per user? No. Premium per user can basically access everything, and then the premium per capacity users, no named licenses, is the only. Basically, if you have a free version, you can only have access if you have the premium per capacity. So hopefully this makes sense. If there's any questions on this, please let me know. Happy to answer. Happy to answer anything that may come through the chat. All right. So the other type of premium offering is what we would call Power BI report server. So this is included with Power BI Premium. So if you're paying the $5,000 per month on one of the P SKUs, P1 through P5, you do have, this does come with it. Oops, we'll go right back. This does come with that premium offering. It can be purchased separately. So we do have some clients that, they do have very important and critical information that cannot leave on premise. So in that instance, they have purchased Power BI report server through something called SQL Server Software Assurance. And that's with SQL Server Enterprise Edition. So you need to have SQL Server Enterprise Edition, and then you would purchase software assurance with that. And that is approximately $40,000, and it expires after 2 years. So after every 2 years, you would have to re-up that purchase for software assurance. You do need a Power BI Pro license to publish to the report server, so you'll still need that Pro license. So there's really no way to get around Pro. If you're going to be authoring or publishing reports, you still need a Pro license. However, the viewers of those reports do not require a license. So if I just need to analyze my data, I'm a business analyst inside the organization, I don't need a Pro license. I can just view that. But if I'm a business analyst who's actually developing and then publishing, I still need that Pro license for report server. Okay. The last license that we're going to be talking about here today is something called Power BI Embedded. And Power BI Embedded is licensed through something called the A SKUs. That's A1 through 5, and this is all handled through Microsoft Azure. So you would go into the Azure services, and then you would configure the type of SKU you would need inside of there. And this is meant to basically, this is for ISVs, so independent software vendors, to embed their Power BI into their existing applications. So we see this with some of our clients that we work with that want to come up with an analytics software offering for their end users. Within an existing software that they have, or we've actually engaged with some others that feel like, hey, they specialize in a certain industry and they want to actually provide reporting as a service to their end users. So what they'll do is they'll take Power BI and they'll embed that inside of their web application, and they more or less are white labeling Power BI. So they're using Power BI as their analytics solution, and Power BI Embedded provides them that capability. We also see other organizations using Power BI Embedded to, deploy their reports throughout the organization as well. So there may be a web application built and they want to actually use that to deploy their reports. That's perfectly fine. There's just a few different, it's really depending upon what type of solution you're trying to architect. It usually involves Azure Analysis Services, or it can. Or it usually involves some variation of Power BI Premium to basically create a unified data model that can be utilized across all end users that are accessing that the Power BI reporting. It's a little bit more complicated, architecture, but at the end of the day, it can be a very viable solutions for organizations that are wanting to provide analytics for their end users. And last but not least, the one thing that everybody's always concerned about or has questions about is the licensing. So this is just a quick licensing table that you could utilize to actually just see, what is the actual cost? What am I getting with that cost for all of my different premium licensing? The Pro is straightforward, $10 per month per user. Free is obviously free, and then the premium per user is $20 per month per user, as we mentioned. But this table pretty well breaks down the estimated price for all the premium capacity SKUs from EM all the way down to your P to your A's. Any questions? I mean, normally when we give this presentation, there are quite a few questions that come through. I know we have a small group today. This is the last slide because we have gone through all of the different licensing. So I'd be curious if anybody has any questions. If there are no questions, perfectly fine. But that pretty well wraps up what we had to present to everyone here. So I'm going to hang around for a little while. If there's any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or come off mute. So we had a question, back end and front end cores, how are they getting used? They are getting used. Let me see here. I'm not sure if I have a proper way to answer that. That's essential. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to how to answer that, so I apologize. That's not really my area of expertise. I can take that information and provide that back to you though at the end. So the next question was, what's the biggest advantage to upgrade Pro to Premium per user? Really, it depends upon what you're looking for. So if we go back to the Premium per user, essentially you're getting all of the features of Premium. So if you're looking for, AI capabilities, paginated reporting, larger refreshes, a larger model size. If you're looking for, deployment pipelines, you get all of these things with that. So those are some of the main features I see that are important, but really it depends upon it really depends what your organization is looking to utilize from that. Great question though. Any other questions? Okay, so the question is, Power BI Premium provides paginated report feature. So that feature is essentially, it allows you, so paginated reporting is something that SSRS reports provide. So if you do SQL Server reports, reporting services, they use something called paginated reporting. So if you have Premium, you have the ability to deploy those reports to your Power BI service or your Power BI report server. So we have a lot of, it's basically a different type of report. It looks a little bit different, but allows you to kind of have the unified location for Power BI reports and for SSRS reports. Are those advantages more for the developers or also for users? I would say for both. The advantages are for developers and end users. So it really does not matter. So, more refresh, a higher refresh rate is going to enable your end users to see that data more regularly. XML endpoint connectivity is going to provide you more features. At the end of the day, the answer is both. You have more features available to you to help your end users with whatever type of analytics you're trying to provide them. Great questions. Any other questions? All right. Well, if there's no more questions, again, like I said, the Power BI licensing that we reviewed today was all the way from Power BI Pro, Power BI Free down to the Power BI Embedded SKU. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us through our website. Always happy to have everybody on here. Always happy to engage with you and help you out. We're going to have another one of these. We have these every Thursday. So if you're interested, we'll see you back here again next week. Audrey or Chloe, anything to add before we break?
I will send a chat or a link in the chat to our schedule for the rest of the year. We have a ton of awesome sessions, so definitely check those out and register.
Awesome.
That's all.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. Appreciate your time here today, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.